Hello and welcome. Today, we're diving into a really deep and fascinating theological argument. It tackles one of the biggest questions out there. How can a loving God create a universe that's totally and permanently safe from sin without just, taking away the free will he gave us in the first place? It's a huge puzzle, so let's get right into it.
So here it is, the central paradox. Think about it. If we are genuinely, truly free to choose, doesn't that mean the option to rebel, to sin, always has to be on the table? And if that possibility is always there, how can creation ever really be considered perfected and secure for good? This is the exact problem that our source material really digs into and tries to solve.
All right, to unpack this whole thing, we're going to walk through the argument step by step. First, we'll tackle that core dilemma of free will. Then, we're going to look at this pivotal event called the first resurrection. From there, we'll see how that one event kicks off a chain reaction, cleansing the heavens, bringing judgment to earth, and how it all seems to follow this ancient blueprint, leading to what the text calls a creation that is finally complete.
Okay, let's dive into this foundational problem. Seriously, how does God secure his creation for all eternity without turning his creatures, us, into a bunch of mindless robots?
So according to this viewpoint, the ultimate goal isn't just about punishing sin or even forgiving it. No, it's about getting to a place where sin can never happen again among the righteous. That's a way, way higher bar to clear, right? And it means you need a very, very specific kind of solution.
So the source text puts forward this incredible concept, the completion of free will. Now get this, it doesn't mean your choice is taken away, not at all. It suggests that a being's trust and understanding of God's character becomes so complete, so unshakable, that choosing against him becomes, impossible. It's not that your freedom is gone, it's that it's been perfected. The question is, how on earth could anyone ever reach a state like that? So how is this completion of free will actually achieved? Well, the source doesn't point to some magic divine command or a heavenly mind wipe. No, it points to one single, pivotal future event that acts as the ultimate, undeniable proof.
Before any kind of final verdict is passed on creation, this argument says that a final piece of evidence has to be presented to the whole universe. It has to be a demonstration so powerful, so irrefutable, that it completely settles any and all cosmic doubt about God's character and his ways for good.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. Look at this sequence of events. It all starts with these martyrs who are faithful right up to the end. Then, their resurrection becomes the ultimate proof. It vindicates God's way as the true path to life. And for everyone watching, all the angels and righteous beings, this one incredible event just wipes away any lingering doubt about God's character. And that paves the way for the next big step.
And this right here is the first major domino to fall. Once the righteous beings in heaven are perfected in their will, once they can no longer even conceive of doubting God, then and only then can the heavens themselves finally be cleansed.
The source uses this very specific term, the actual sanctuary, to talk about the heavenly realm. We're not talking about a physical building here, but the cosmic headquarters of God's government. The idea is that even this place was affected by rebellion, and it needs to be atoned for, basically scrubbed clean of any trace or possibility that sin could ever pop up there again.
To back this up, the text points to Scripture, like this verse from Revelation. It suggests there's this period where the heavenly sanctuary is sort of locked down for cleansing, and at the exact same time that's happening, something else is going down, a series of intense judgments on earth. So here's the crucial connection. The perfected will of everyone in heaven is what unlocks the next phase. Because they now see God's justice with perfect crystal clarity, they can witness what's happening on earth, these severe judgments, and understand them as being completely righteous and necessary.
And that brings us down to earth, literally. The cleansing of heaven happens at the same time as a final, decisive judgment unfolds on earth, at least as it's described in the source material.
The logic behind this judgment is actually rooted in an Old Testament principle. The source argues that a land that's been polluted by innocent blood can only be cleansed or atoned for by the blood of those who did the shedding in the first place.
So, the 7 plagues aren't presented as just random acts of divine anger. They're framed as a very specific, righteous atonement for the earth itself. It's the long-awaited justice for the blood of the saints. And because everyone in heaven is now completely on board with God's perspective, this judgment is understood as perfectly just.
This timeline really puts it all together. It's a total chain reaction. The first resurrection provides the proof. That proof completes free will. That completion allows the heavenly sanctuary's atonement to start. That, in turn, happens alongside the 7 plagues on earth, which leads to more judgments and finally the binding of Satan. You see? Each step is a direct, logical consequence of the one right before it.
Now, I know these are some very big cosmic ideas. To make this whole sequence a little easier to grasp, the source material argues that we were actually given a small-scale model, a kind of blueprint, in an ancient Israelite ritual.
This analogy is pretty powerful. The idea here is that the incredibly detailed Day of Atonement ceremony wasn't just some historical thing, it was a prophecy in action. It was a type, or a shadow, that was foreshadowing the much, much larger cosmic anti-type that we've been talking about. This slide creates this fascinating one-to-one map. The cleansing of the ancient tabernacle, that corresponds to the cleansing of the actual sanctuary in heaven. The atonement for the outer altar, that mirrors the judgment on earthly systems. The scapegoat being sent out into the wilderness perfectly represents Satan being imprisoned in the abyss. And finally, the big feast that came after the ceremony points to the 1,000-year kingdom. It's presented as this incredibly consistent divine pattern. So, after all of these steps, the proof, the perfection, the cleansing, the judgment, what's the final outcome? What's the end game here? Let's bring all these threads together for the ultimate takeaway.
So to sum it all up, the argument flows just like this. The first resurrection is the key piece of evidence. This evidence then perfects the free will of the righteous, making them secure forever. That security, in turn, allows for a 2-part cleansing, first of the heavens and then of the earth through judgment. And all of this leads to the grand conclusion: the universe is finally made safe, not by taking away freedom, but by perfecting it through an undeniable proof of love and justice.
And that leaves us with one last, really thought-provoking question that sits at the very heart of this whole argument. The text really challenges our normal definition of freedom. It asks us to consider whether ultimate liberty isn't having the constant potential to fall, but instead having the absolute, joyful, and irreversible inability to even want to. It's a pretty powerful idea to think about. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.